Georgia in the Revolutionary War. Most citizens of Georgia were the Tories, also called the Loyalists, because they were loyal to King George III. Many agreed to fight in the British Army. The other side was a smaller group of colonists called the Whigs, also known as the Patriots. They wanted independence from Great Britain. The Patriots viewed the Revolutionary War as a necessary fight in order to break free of British tyranny. Most Georgia Loyalists live along the coast, in or around Savannah. They were wealthy and benefited from their trade relationship with England. Most Georgia Patriots lived in Georgia's frontier, or the back country, also known as the upcountry. They tended to rely on themselves and did not want to be bothered by the government. Now we're going to look at some of the Revolutionary battles in Georgia. The first major fighting in the South took place in December of 1778, when the British defeated the Patriots at Savannah. And by January of 1779, the British had also captured Augusta, Georgia's only other major city. So in order to capture the rest of Georgia, in February of 1779, the British commander in Augusta called for more soldiers in order to capture the rest of the colony. Colonel James Boyd responded and led nearly 700 British soldiers towards Augusta. The group stopped to camp at Kettle Creek, which is in Washington, Georgia today. So the Battle of Kettle Creek was definitely a successful one for the Patriots. A Patriot militia led by Elijah Clark and John Dooley surprise attacked the soldiers. Clark and Dooley led their troops across Kettle Creek and surrounded the camp while a third group attacked head-on. British troops were forced to withdraw from Augusta, and this boosted the morale of the Patriots. So the Battle of Kettle Creek is considered the most important Revolutionary War battle fought in Georgia because it prevented the British from gaining control of the back country. But things were soon to take a turn for the worse. In the fall of 1779, American and French forces prepared to attack and regain control of Savannah from the British. They attacked on October 9th. It only lasted 90 minutes and the Americans were beaten back, losing thousands of soldiers. The attack on Savannah was the second bloodiest battle of the Revolutionary War. The most famous casualty of the battle was a Polish soldier who had come to fight for the colonists, Count Casimir Pulaski. Both Pulaski County and Fort Pulaski are named in his honor. After the failed attack on Savannah, the Patriots and Loyalists continued to fight each other. But by 1781, the tide had turned against the British, and the Patriots recaptured Augusta. The following year, the British were forced to withdraw from Savannah. The war ended with the Treaty of Paris. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 granted America independence from England. The United States of America was officially created. Unfortunately for Georgia, the Treaty of Paris of 1783 once again gave Spain possession of Florida. Next, we're going to look at some people from Georgia that were important faces of the Revolutionary War. First up is Elijah Clark. He was a hero of the Battle of Kettle Creek. While the Patriots were struggling to keep their hopes alive, Clark led small groups through the Carolina frontier to attack the British with guerrilla tactics. In 1781, Clark returned to Georgia from Carolina and helped the Patriots regain control of Augusta. Next up is Austin Dabney. He was a slave who joined the Whigs, or the Patriots. He was the only black Whig soldier at the Battle of Kettle Creek. He was seriously wounded at that battle, and Dabney was cared for by Giles Harris, a white friend. His freedom was granted by the government of Georgia in 1786. Up next is Nancy Hart. According to a legend, she served as a Whig spy at Kettle Creek. She killed possibly 6 invading British soldiers after getting them drunk on wine when they demanded she cooked for them. Today, Hart County is the only county in Georgia named after a woman. You already know that Button Gwinnett signed the Declaration of Independence for Georgia. After that, he became a chairman of the committee who wrote the Georgia Constitution of 1777. He also then became Georgia's governor. While in office, Governor Gwinnett challenged his enemy, Lachlan McIntosh, to a duel, and he was shot. Gwinnett died of his injuries 3 days later. He's buried in Savannah. Another signer of the Declaration was Lyman Hall. He was a minister and a doctor from Connecticut who practiced medicine in Georgia and South Carolina. He moved to Georgia in 1760 and joined Button Gwinnett in leadership of the St. John Parish. Hall was also a member of Georgia's delegation to the Second Continental Congress and signed the Declaration of Independence. After the Revolution, he returned to medical practice. He was elected governor in 1783 and focused on important issues like rebuilding Georgia's economy and dealing with Loyalist and American Indians. He was also instrumental in the founding of the University of Georgia. Last but not least is George Walton. He was a successful lawyer who became involved in Georgia politics during the Revolutionary War. He was a delegate to the Continental Congress and was the third Georgian to sign the Declaration of Independence. During the American Revolution, he served as a Patriot colonel. He was wounded and captured by the British and ended up walking with a limp for the rest of his life. When the war ended, Walton remained active in Georgia politics for the next 30 years. He was a representative in Congress, circuit court judge, Chief Justice of Georgia, Governor of Georgia, and U.S. Senator.